Yes, it is. Well, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. So I would love to begin our conversation before we get into your work by asking you right now, we're on the 4-year anniversary of this pandemic. And if you go back to
Mhm.
2020, how did you get through that time period and how did it change you?
Wow. It's been a big one because I've been an entrepreneur for now 17 years, and a company we run has been hit by COVID dramatically. So we've been a really like what you would call over here in Germany like a mid-sized company. We've had up to 10 employees running almost at seven figures. And you have to imagine, so our books were full for the entire year.
Yeah,
And then hit March, within 2 days, everything was canceled, like completely everything. And, just looking back and with all of the experiences we have made during that time, the one thing that has been fascinating me the most, looking like talking to all of our friends, family, people we know, how there are so many people that got hit so hard by that, like as in losing their existence, losing companies, losing their houses, losing a lot of money, losing people that they love, family, friends, dying, right?
yeah,
And then on the other hand, there were people who weren't by it at all because they were completely like almost secure by the system in our country,
yeah,
as in teachers, as in, people working for government. They were secure. They
yeah,
had to stay at home. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downsize what or like downplay what they had to go through as in
sure.
mental health, all the kind of stuff. But when it comes to their home, their family, money, they have been safe.
Yeah,
So I wonder, looking back, like all of us human beings, we had to go through all of the same thing at the very same time. And yet, the way we experienced all of that couldn't be more different.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not sure when I'm saying I'm fascinated by that, I
yeah,
cannot even tell you it's definitely not positive, even though I'm very, very happy for the people who were not affected by it at all.
yeah,
And yet, seeing people, how they were suffering, how they were losing people. I mean, that you can't even put that to words, right? People who lost their homes, who lost their companies, who just lost it all. Like, how much more can you be hit by life? And
yeah,
how do you ever get back from that at
yeah,
all?
yeah.
So,
It is fascinating to see that the balancing act that went on because there I've heard from a lot of people the silver linings, but we all saw what the reality of this time period was. And even for
it
us that
still is, still
true,
is.
yeah, it's sent ripples that are going to
Yes.
go on forever and ever. So let's get into the heart and soul of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Oh, I love that question, Joe. I love it. Okay. So imagine mommy and daddy having a career and being really challenged by that, right? Being responsible for a lot of people, for a lot of money, and just really having to struggle a whole lot of things on their plates at the same time. And me, Kathrine Louise, I'm there to help them guide through it, to be, you know, first of all, be able to handle all of that. And then when they come back home from work, not only quote unquote being successful and happy about their work, but then when they're with you, that they can still be happy and relaxed and present and just really overall living a happy and fulfilled life. And as I try to explain it for a third grader, time management and work-life balance is a huge thing. And as I said before, I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. Listen, I got three kids. I got a dog. Like, don't even try to explain me. I've been there, and just seeing how my clients, when they thrive, just seeing them win, this is all I want.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
I want to be an actress.
Okay.
I
Okay.
want to be in Hollywood. Something went wrong.
But did you act? Did you ever get into plays and do things?
Funnily enough, when I became a teenager, the thought of having to kiss somebody who might have eaten fish before grossed
Yeah. There
me.
you go.
So
That's the end of that.
that's the end of my Oscar Hollywood career.
S-
Nope. Huh?
So talk to me a little bit about how you got to this point of being an entrepreneur and helping others
Mhm.
get to a better place. How did all of this become a part of your life?
Okay, I love that question. Okay, so when I was done with university, I always knew I have to explain. I'm coming from a background where all of my family are musicians. So
Yeah.
none of just anybody in my family ever had what we would call a typical 9 to 5, deaf musicians or entrepreneurs. So when I was done with my education, I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. I tried this office thing. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So when I was 24, 25, I started my own very first company. I actually started having some entrepreneurial experience even before, during your university. And then, like, you remember 2008, 2009, when the economy crisis hit really hard? Like, it was almost a global pandemic too, just a bit different. That's when my first company got hit real hard. I was still a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember if I would have had somebody like a coach back then, things would have turned out way differently.
Yeah.
But you are either, I'm not trying to put people into boxes. Obviously, that's everything I do not believe in. But when it comes to your work, like you either thrive in a corporate career or like 9 to 5, or you are an entrepreneur. If
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur, you're going to die in an office. It's just not going to happen. And I figured pretty quickly, like I'm the kind of girl, I work 24 freaking 7, but just don't put me into a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And just really then becoming a mom of three and really having coaches myself. And I grew up with that because my dad used to have coaches when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And it was just something I've always appreciated so much. And then, what happened quite naturally is people like who knew us were coming up to me, asking me for advice, like, how do you juggle all of this? How do you manage that? And it was just, it was giving me all the feels that you have when you are in your purpose, when you are in your zone of genius. And then I really started, doing extra courses, doing online Harvard courses, which I'm obsessed with, and really started working with clients like officially 2018, 2019, and just seeing them win.
Yeah.
That was everything. And ironically, that started before COVID. And when then our company really wasn't moving too well, I started focusing even more on that. And so I'm like, that's all I want to do. That's it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Who's been a hero or an inspiration for you in your life? You're obviously very highly driven.
Wow. Oh, goodness. Okay. So honestly, that would have to be my grandpa. He was like that male figure. But as in, I'm not sure if hero, but greatest inspiration for sure. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's my kids.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, those three little amazing human beings, and just they're so different, like
Yeah.
so different. And then on other areas, they're just like the same person. And just like how they believe in me, how they love me, this kind of unconditional love that just keeps you going no matter what. Like they are my biggest why. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So let me ask you this. If you can meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating or interesting, who would that be?
Ah, that's a good one. No, you got me, Joe. Um, wow. Funnily enough, I think no, it's not funnily enough because what I want to say, funnily enough, a year ago would have been a different answer. But now I really do believe Michelle Obama. It's like
Yeah.
whatever she's putting out there, I'm like, yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
preach it.
Yeah.
She would have to be like, I've never heard her say anything or read anything from her, and I know her books and everything. Like, she's just so honest,
Yeah.
like how she talked about her marriage and how she just straight up didn't like her husband for a
Yeah.
good 10 years. And I'm like, thank you. Finally, somebody is, spitting the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it would have to be Michelle Obama for sure.
Yeah. I just listened to her book that she just put out and it was wonderful. Yeah. She's stellar.
Yeah, she is. I think, honestly, she is what our generation of women really needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do too. So let me ask you this. What's your motivation every day to do the work that you do? To do not only the work to help people, but to also evolve as a human?
Oh, you know what? I guess when it comes to evolving as a human, it's definitely me being a learner. Like I figured that you're never done. Like if you ever work with a coach or mentor who's telling you he's not being coached or not learning, run.
Yeah.
Just like run. It's
Yeah.
not possible because life is about ever evolving, ever changing. So, and I appreciate that. I'm like a sponge. Like I'm always doing something to learn, always doing a course, always, and I think this is what my kids see as well, and they pick that up. And again, my biggest why as to why I'm doing all the things is my kids, but then also my clients when I work with them and see how they grow so much. And when, you see that in their face when the energy shifts and there's like this like aha moment,
Yeah.
literally, or when they come back to me and be like, oh my God, like I've been stuck with this for so long and now it's like, it's easy. And that's literally what I live for.
So what's been one of your favorite client success stories?
Oh, that's a good one. I want to say, and I have this quite often, especially middle-aged women, and even more so when they're moms. When they're stuck in a career point, let's call her Sally,
Yeah.
okay? Let's call her Sally. Beginning of her 40s, she's been stuck in her career for quite some time. And it was like like, that's the funny thing about it. She was very successful. And if you look specifically at women like her, you would be like, well, what's wrong? She got it all. She got the lifestyle, she got the family. Like, what are you asking for? But she internally felt like something is wrong. She was not happy.
Yeah.
Like she was doing the thing, but she had desires, she had aspirations. And to her, it felt like whatever she was doing, she couldn't reach it, she couldn't achieve it. And she just wasn't happy. And just after working with her, I'm still working with her, like she's getting back to me. I'm not doing like single sessions, but I always do like month or year based contracts. And just seeing how she is now truly happy and fulfilled and even more successful, like for our terms, that Sally is my most favorite success
I love
story
it.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
you have to give out a lot of good advice to your clients. What's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
Ooh, to listen to my gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how many decades, I'm 41 now, how many decades I've been neglecting my gut feeling because everybody around me was so different.
Yeah.
And I felt like something is wrong with me
Yeah.
as a consequence, not listening to my gut feeling. And that has stopped me for years. And also, maybe I would be an actress now,
Yeah. Yeah.
smashing the Oscar parties if I
Uh-huh.
would have just listened to my gut for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So if you had a dream tonight, you ran into that 18-year-old version of you, you could give that
Mhm.
version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you gain in your life. What advice would you give your younger self?
Don't be scared and follow your aspirations and dreams.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and do it. And just because everybody else is living a different life, telling you something else that is not your truth. Because, and this is something, and I don't know how to emphasize that enough. Sometimes it's not something being wrong with you, but you being surrounded by the wrong people.
Yeah.
And that is something I have never known to be true up until like 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I have people around me who are like me, who are entrepreneurs, who are, you know, high profilers, because the truth is, when you're running on a different level, and I'm not saying that to say this is better than the other, but it's just the way of thinking is different. The way
Yeah.
your system works is different,
Yeah.
right? And that's the biggest lesson I've had to learn. Like, surround yourself with people who are like you.
Yeah. Yeah. So professionally speaking, what are you the proudest of that you've done so far?
Ah, Sally. Sally,
Nice.
I have a podcast too.
Yeah.
And it's so I'm obsessed with having a podcast. I love being a guest. Honestly, you could wake me up at 2 a.m. be like, hey, let's do a show. I'm like,
Huh?
here I
Yeah.
am. I'm
Uh-huh.
ready.
Yeah. I could tell. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? I feel like connecting with people is such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a gift. Like, funnily enough, I'm not the most outgoing person, even though it probably doesn't seem like that right now. I'm like more like to myself and stuff, but connecting with people to me is the greatest joy, and I thrive off of that. So I want to say it's definitely podcast, being a guest on podcasts, but also my clients' wins.
Yeah.
That what keeps me going. And I just really, my biggest hope for my life, like when I'm leaving one day far away from now, to be able that people can say she inspired me.
Yeah.
She inspired me to be who I truly am. Being happy and successful is not too much to ask for. It's
Yeah.
actually my birthright.
Yeah.
And if there are a couple of people and my kid's gonna miss me and be like, oh, she was a good mom, I'm good.
You know what's interesting, going back to our first question about the pandemic, I
Mm,
think that's one of the things that was really magical about the pandemic was that podcasting and podcasts
hmm.
became a big deal. It became kind of this hip thing. And that's the
Yeah,
part of the podcasting I think that is the most magical is the connection that people have. That,
yeah.
it's like you don't have to wait for the TV station to put something out there. You can tune into all kinds of voices on your own time, whenever you want, from people that are doing it for just the love of doing it.
And also, I feel like it made the world so much smaller,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like you're a whole lot of kilometers away from me right
Uh-huh.
now. And yet, we have never met before. And yet we're here right now
Yeah.
talking like, we've just talked last week or
Yeah.
something. It's like how
Uh-huh.
you can connect to people and learn from each other. And I feel like this is what we human beings need. We need connections.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if you're an introvert, like I'm an introvert typically, but knowing I get to connect with people who I have something in common.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yeah. It's a big deal.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Ugh.
Uh,
So you came prepared.
yes.
Uh, I think I'm constantly trying to grow and learn and definitely reflect on myself because I'm I'm not a person who likes to reveal the struggles I've been going through because if there's one thing I believe in energy, and I think if people are pity for you, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I tend to not talk about the things that I've been going through. Sometimes I do share it when I see it could help people. But overall, the reason why I'm laughing the way I do, why I'm positive, is because I know how can life can hit you differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So me appreciating our conversation is because I know life can be different,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Sure. Oh
yeah, I
yeah.
understand what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
So this is why I'm really seeing myself as If I can get back up tomorrow morning and still be a mom and thrive and learn and support people, then I'm good. But I'm far from being perfect. I'm constantly learning and reflecting and growing. Yeah.
Very well said. So if anyone wants to hire you, tune into your podcast, anything about your world, what's the good business?
You can find all of me and learn more about me at kathrinelouis.com. That's KATHRINELOUIS.com. You're going to find it all. I also have a freebie right now, which is an audio training,
Yeah,
which is going to make you save 2+ hours this week and at least double your productivity. And that's going to drive those results. So if that is something you're interested in, please make sure to check that out.
absolutely. Kathrine Louise, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, for your exuberance. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to meet you. Take care.